We are almost 28 days away from the NBA draft, almost a year to the date that we drafted our number one draft pick, Zaccharie Risacher. And of course, it's been a good showing from this guy just in general. You know, again, the Atlanta Hawks, unfortunately, they finished with a 40-42 record. Zaccharie Risacher came in the second. Well, yeah, he came as a runner-up for the Rookie of the Year, but now, from what I saw online, Zaccharie Risacher is getting ready to shock everybody. I'm going to give you guys an update on what this young man has been doing lately, and we're going to take a look into what the Atlanta Hawks do have coming into the next season. Again, these last couple of weeks, myself and Christian Moore, we've been going over trades or trade alerts or trade updates. We've been going over the draft updates. Of course, we came across the draft lottery that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and now we know that the Atlanta Hawks, they have 2 first-round draft picks, okay? They have the number 13 pick that was given to them from the Sacramento Kings, and we also have the number 22 pick in the draft, and that was given to us from the LA Lakers. Now, with that being said, we also know that the Atlanta Hawks do have some other housekeeping issues that they need to take care of. Of course, they need to definitely get another general manager. They also need to land on whether or not they want to get or are going to get a president of basketball operations. And we've gone through it. We've gone through the different people that were supposed to be, or I wouldn't say supposed to, but was definitely being looked at for the Atlanta Hawks. Bob Myers was definitely being looked at. Elton Brand was being looked at. The Hawks had even one point said that they were going to get back to getting Danny Ferry. Of course, he was the general manager at the time. He was only with the Hawks for 2 years, and he, of course, was the general manager that orchestrated, you dig, a lot of what we see, what we saw with the Atlanta Hawks back in the early 2010s or whatnot. You dig, you had Jeff Teague, those guys, Jeff Teague and the crew, Al Horford. He was responsible of drafting, his name skips me, he's from Germany, but you get what I'm saying. Ultimately, the Hawks, they got a lot of stuff that they got to get going. But I brought you here to talk about Zaccharie Risacher because I'm telling you right now, this young man, he is definitely, I think he's definitely going to be what the Atlanta Hawks, let me get his picture up. Yeah, he is definitely going to be with the Atlanta Hawks for the long haul. I know that in most of the updates that we do give you guys, we've been talking about the potential of landing Giannis Antetokounmpo down here in Atlanta. And so with that, it would definitely cost the Atlanta Hawks a lot. I don't think they necessarily have the draft capital or the money per se to bring them down here, but we do have a lot of young talent. And we would almost have to get rid of our entire roster to get someone like a Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we definitely don't want to get into that deal. But this young man, I'm telling you right now, Zaccharie Risacher, he's going to shock everybody. And I want to show you guys this video really quickly. My man Chris sent me this over. I mean, you see Zaccharie Risacher, and there's only one slide. He's working out in the gym, but he looks like it's starting to take effect. And if you have ever been in the gym, you know some consistency. You know, if you're consistently getting into the gym every single day, your body's going to start to change. And Zaccharie Risacher, yeah, came into the league a little small. I wouldn't say undersized, but a lot of people were looking at him like, okay, he's going to have to get bigger. He's going to have to get adjusted to the NBA game. Zaccharie Risacher has done just that. Even down to the fact that, remember how earlier in the season, Zaccharie Risacher wasn't necessarily shooting like we expected him to. He wasn't necessarily hitting the three-point jumper like we expected him to, or getting to his, creating his own shot at that. Zaccharie Risacher has done that mainly because he got back into the gym, shooting extra after practice, shooting extra in his free time, meeting up with certain players that have been in the game long term. I think he was shooting with Bogdan Bogdanović before he ended up leaving and going to the LA Clippers. So we know that Zaccharie Risacher is one for the grind. He's one to get into what it is that he's definitely, he goes to that dark place. You know what a lot of people say, I went to a dark place to get the best out of me. Zaccharie Risacher is that guy. So give a big shout out to Zaccharie Risacher, first of all. And I don't even think I welcome the show. Oh, well, either way, we'll get on to it. Now, something that I wanted to get to you guys really quickly, I wanted us to look ahead, mainly because, again, I've listened to you guys what the Atlanta Hawks, I guess, don't have. I've told you guys that the Atlanta Hawks, are looking for a general manager, president of basketball operations. We got 2 draft picks coming up. It's a lot that they have to necessarily deal with. But going into next season, I'm kind of excited. And I read an article earlier today from Yardbarkers, and they was talking about the front court that the Atlanta Hawks, that they have. Jalen Johnson and Big O, but this is the front court. They called it the front court of the future. And I started to look, and I started to, look into what these 2 guys are, if you will. I started to see what, their production was. Of course, we know that Onyeka Okongwu took over for Clint Capela on the center position. Jalen Johnson, he was definitely making a name for himself. He had all-star accolades or all-star recognition this season or this past season until he, of course, torn his labrum and was out for the rest of the season. And so we didn't necessarily get a full, I guess, view of what this front court could be, Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. And I brought, I actually have some of their stats up. Again, before Jalen Johnson got out of was out for the season, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and this is at a small about a stretch forward position. You could say he plays the 4 or plays the 3. So again, Jalen Johnson has definitely stepped up with the Atlanta Hawks, and Onyeka Okongwu, again, stepping in for Clint Capela, has definitely started to move into the role of center. And again, I feel as though if we were to bring in another center during the season, not during the season, but in this year's draft, let me get this out the way really quickly. Yes, we are looking ahead. But if I were able to, let me get back to that. Yeah, if the Atlanta Hawks are able to bring in another big, someone slightly taller, yes, 7 foot. And of course, yes, we do still have Mogay. And so that does definitely give the Atlanta Hawks more options. Again, returning back with Jalen Johnson in the lineup, it definitely suits the Atlanta Hawks very well because of the fact that these 2 gentlemen coming together. And let me show you a clip really quickly because, again, Onyeka Okongwu and Jalen Johnson, they're definitely comfortable with making decisions, you dig what I'm saying, with the ball on their own. And you just see here, of course, them smoothly running the pick and roll. These guys would be a good matchup together and definitely give a lot of other teams some problems on the down in the paint area. Again, I feel as though the Hawks, they can't necessarily, I wouldn't say they can't create their shots, but they definitely have a hard time doing so, but they move the ball very well. And with cutters like Zaccharie Risacher, cutters like Dyson Daniels, when you add those guys to the line, not to the lineup, but when you add those guys into the mix, you definitely have a situation where the Atlanta Hawks can definitely run circles around some other teams. So I'm just pointing out how, Zaccharie Risacher, he's definitely doing the work that definitely puts him into the upper echelon, if you will. Again, like I said, he was the number 2 he was second in votes when it comes to Rookie of the Year. So again, that's something added to that. He's working. He's getting better. We saw him get better in his shot earlier in the season, so we already know what that is. And again, the front court with Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu, that could be something that we see in the future. That definitely makes I would say they make Hawks fans smile. You dig what I'm saying? And it definitely puts us in a good mood knowing that those things do come back to the Atlanta Hawks in the next season. Again, new president of basketball operations, new general manager. We definitely still have 2 picks in the draft. I'm excited to see what is going to happen with the Hawks. 28 days away from the NBA draft. I'm excited, wondering who they're going to pick. I don't know, but of course, myself and Chris, we're definitely going to give you more updates as time goes on. Like I said, my name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I'm signing out. Peace.